Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Alpha Omega Occasionally. And very occasionally I suffer from food poisoning in Thailand. It's one of the things that you gotta face up to. Not face up to, but become aware of. I don't know about you guys, but I get a bout of food poisoning maybe once a year. Maybe not that quite regularly, but at least once a year I'd say. And yesterday, I'm not too sure if it was, but this is about a hairy moment. And the hairy moment it was a result of the bout of food poisoning. Today is Monday. On Saturday, my son woke up vomiting with diarrhea and he couldn't eat. And it lasted for about a day. So on Sunday morning, he woke up, he was perfect. I woke up Sunday morning and I was grand. Now, I'd been on the sauce the night before. In Ireland, I don't know if you're familiar with that term. In Ireland, being on the sauce means you're on the beer. I was on the beer the night before. And basically, I didn't get home till about 3 in the morning. Now, that could have had something to do with it. But as the day progressed on Sunday, about 2 o'clock, we'd driven up to Pontoutini. That's where my wife has her weekend house. And I started feeling a bit ropey by the time I got up there. And I had pretty bad acid reflux or heartburn. And I didn't put it down to anything else. I mean, I thought that's just what it was. But as the day progressed, I became more and more uncomfortable, and of course I was making frequent trips to the facility. Let's say, I won't go into detail on that. You don't need me to. But at the end of the day, I had a bad case of diarrhea, and it kept on happening all through the day. I couldn't stay away from the bathroom for more than 20 minutes at a time. It was really uncomfortable, really, really uncomfortable, and thankfully, I vomited at about 5 o'clock in the evening. And of course, that relieved the bad sensation I had. But at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, the wife decided to go home, and she said, "Are you well enough to drive?" She knew I wasn't well, and I felt fine. I didn't feel fine, but I felt okay, you know. So we got into the car and we set off for Bangkok. And I don't know if you know, but the main motorway north towards Rangsit, that's the one we were on. So by the time we got on the motorway, I was doing fine. But about 5 minutes in, you enter the motorway at Rangsit near Future Park there. And as I was going along, I realised I had to puke. It was coming up. It was a horrible experience. And I'm driving. I had my son in the back seat, sitting with my wife. And I said to her, "I have to puke." Well, I didn't say it like that, but I said I had to, whatever. And as I'm talking to you now, I still have the heartburn. But however, and there's nothing more miserable than bloody heartburn. But here's the deal. Here's the hairy moment. She said pull in. But you see, it's only in situations like this that you realise that there is nowhere to pull in on a Thai motorway. Now, I'm talking about the motorway north out of Bangkok towards Rangsit. Now, it ends just outside Rangsit. But that stretch, what is it? 30-kilometre stretch of motorway, there's no hard shoulder. Well, there is a hard shoulder, but it's about a metre. Now, what's the point in a hard shoulder that's a metre wide? There's absolutely no point. And I've seen, this is what dawned on me when I pulled in, you see. I had to puke. And I had to wait. I pulled in on the left, which meant I was in the inside lane, but there was cars zooming past, and I was ready to go. You know, I was ready to fucking heave ho, and I had to wait for the opportunity for a gap in the traffic to jump out. And of course, the minute I jumped out, they were beeping like crazy at me because I'm parked on the laneway. Half the car is on the laneway, half the car is on the hard shoulder. And I've seen accidents on the news here in Thailand where people have done exactly the same thing, and a truck ploughs into the back of the car, or a car ploughs into the back of a car, and I needn't tell you, travelling at 120 kilometres an hour, what the result of that would be. And I made my way around to the other side of the car, the side closest to the wall, you see, on this would-be hard shoulder, and I let it rip. It was just bile, and it was terrible. But all the time I was doing it, I was looking over my shoulder to see if there was a car going to plough into the back of our car. And it was one of the most hair-raising experiences I've ever had. I was powerless really to do anything. But I had left my son in the back seat of the car on a 1 metre wide hard shoulder, and it's using the term hard shoulder as a bit of a joke because it's not. And I've said this before, that health and safety in Thailand is your own concern. And when you come up with a situation like that, if you pull in on a motorway, you need somewhere to stop safely if you have an emergency. That's the whole point of a hard shoulder. But they don't have one. It's a token. You let me know what you think, but that's exactly what happened to me. My wife climbed across the seats to get into the driver's seat while I was doing this, to pull away if she needed to, you see. And ultimately, yeah, when I got into the car, she'd drive home because I was no fit state to continue. But things like situations like that, I mean, I always say everything is great until it's not. And that was a case. That's a case like that. You're incapacitated while driving on a motorway here, and there's nowhere to go. Now, I haven't driven on every motorway in Thailand. I haven't. Of course I haven't. I've driven on a lot of them. And I'm hard pressed. You see, I can't remember. Is there a functional hard shoulder on other motorways? Because on the one out north towards Rangsit, there is no functional hard shoulder. And if you have an emergency, you're absolutely screwed. Because somebody, the law of averages, if you're parked, your car is half on the inside lane of a motorway and they're travelling at 125 kilometres an hour, you've nowhere to go, and neither have they. And if they're paying attention to what they're doing, they'll plough into the back of the car. And that's what was on my mind at the time. So there you go. There's a negative aspect. I don't criticise. I always say these videos aren't a criticism, but that is a criticism. That's a critique. That's a criticism. I mean, if you're going to build a motorway, and you could put a token 1 metre wide strip as a hard shoulder, what's the point in that? I mean, what is the point in that? You tell me. Anyway, that's the deal. So I did what I had to do, and I stumbled back into the car, and we went home and had a good night's sleep, and I felt much, much better this morning. And I feel okay now, but I actually didn't eat for 24 hours, and I'm regretting I ate this morning. I had a chicken sandwich this morning. I regret doing that even now. But there you go, guys. Do you agree with me that health and safety in Thailand is your own concern, whereas in Europe the governments do it for you? Here it's just left up to you. And have you had a hairy experience in Thailand? That was my wife. I've had plenty, but that's just the thing that happened in the last 24 hours. So there you go. If you found this story interesting, let me know in the comment section. And whatever you do, if you haven't done so already, click the notifications bell, click the like button, click the share button, do all those wonderful things, and I'll bring you back another wonderful video very soon. Thanks for joining me.
Hello there.